Information to help you run your business better and improve your marketing campaigns. My name is Hank Hoffmeyer, and thank you for joining me on Hank's Marketing and Business Tips. Welcome to episode 291 of the HMBT podcast. Today, I'm joined by Steven Schneider. He is the co-founder and CEO of TrioSEO. TrioSEO is a blog writing agency that helps online businesses scale organic traffic and use their blog to generate qualified leads through BOFU. And if you don't know what that means, that's bottom of the funnel content. I'm dying to ask Steven, is blog content still worth it? We'll get into that. You're going to have to listen in. But Steven, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Hank. Excited to be here.
Yeah, when we talk about SEO and blog content, the average marketer, the average entrepreneur, business owner, they're kind of, I think, scared of that because they might not know how to do technical SEO or they might know what SEO is in a way, but not how to do it. And then they might think that blog content is actually dying and it's not worth doing anymore. First and foremost, you are in SEO, right? Which is a unique space. Tell me how you got involved with SEO in your career.
Yeah, I kind of fell into it accidentally, which is, I think, how most of the best things in life work out. It was many moons ago in college, and I was working on my class project with a good friend of mine, and we were doing some introduction slide, and he mentioned that he was a business owner, and I kind of scoffed at him and was like, yeah, right, what business do you really have? And yeah, he actually did. He had a full-fledged affiliate marketing kind of SEO blog on the side, and he was generating over 10 grand per month from his college dorm. So once I kind of learned that it was all driven by SEO and what SEO was and how it worked, I just realized this is pretty much my golden ticket, and was ready to scrap everything I had thought about college at that time and then just become a sponge next to him. So he taught me everything and we worked together, and then long story short, we left college with a couple of websites and blogs under our belt, merged with his partner, and within a couple of years had scaled it to about 40 blogs. We were publishing about 300 to 400 articles per month at our peak, and scaled that to 7 figures just strictly off affiliate blogs. So it was a pretty fun ride, and that was my kind of launch into SEO and how I was able to kind of learn the blog and content side of the world.
So you fell into SEO. Well, that's interesting. You don't hear that too often.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting thing that people don't really realize the power of. And you mentioned, writing blogs for people. So let's get to it. The question I asked during the intro was, is blog content still worth writing? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's still as powerful as it used to be? And how much emphasis or attention should we put into that moving forward? Maybe if we're, say, small, mid-size, or even a large company.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm biased. I will obviously announce that right out the gate. But I think that it's massively important, whether you're looking at it from your brand authority's perspective, whether you're looking at it from your buyer's journey point of view, and just your general SEO. I think that one of the misconceptions around blog writing is that people will brainstorm ideas and sit in their office and be like, this is what we're going to write about this week, and then be surprised when it doesn't perform well. When really all of the blog content on your site should have a strategy behind it. It should have an intent behind the topic, and it should fit into a larger strategy as a whole. If you're just looking at one topic compared to a bigger landscape and a wide array of topics, it doesn't really give you the best upside. So I think that blogging is extremely beneficial if done right.
All right, let me ask you a couple questions and then give you a scenario. We all know that about 10 years ago, 15, maybe even 20 years ago, blogs were so powerful because, search engines were kind of anemic when it came to content. They pretty much only showed links to websites, based on the keywords you were searching for. And if you had a really good blog with really good content, it would show. It would be prominent in the search results. Now we have so much fluff and so much noise, right? We have AI results. We have all those FAQs and all those things people are stuffing their websites with, and ads and all those things that Google and Bing are putting into the search results. And then all of a sudden there's AI, and there's so much content out there that might not even be valuable, that people are just going to chat GPT saying, write a blog post on fine jewelry, and I'm going to simply just copy and paste all that horrible grammar and put it on my blog post. In this day and age, why would I either want to start writing my own blog posts, even if I'm using AI a little bit, or use a company like yours to put blog content out there, being that I'm a skeptic? If I was like a prospect for you and I said that and I was so negative and those were my obstacles to you, how would you overcome that?
The biggest thing is just realizing what risk you're willing to throw on the table in order to get where you want to go. I think that AI especially is so underdeveloped, especially from Google's point of view, that it doesn't really know how to react to AI content. It doesn't even know how to decipher what is AI versus human written. It does its best, obviously. But if you take a ChatGPT piece of content strictly at face value and slap it on your site, it's a pretty clear that it wasn't written by a human. The grammar's off, the word choice is not conversational. It looks like it was written by a robot. And I think that if you're willing to risk your brand and your site's integrity just to cut a little bit of a corner to save on budget, save on time, scale content faster than you actually should, it works for some, but I don't think it's a sustainable strategy. So, with our approach, everything is 100% human written, 100% human edited. We have over 10 years of experience doing this and doing it well. So I think that when looking at, apples to oranges, you're looking at, do I want a more legit, kind of safer, sustainable approach that's going to actually, reap the benefits down the road? Or do you want to kind of play the get rich quick scheme and try to press your luck?
I see a lot of brands on social where they might have a lot of volume with posting, right? And it's like general benign content, quotes, etc. Then you see other brands are doing less, but it's more quality. I'm guessing you're saying the same thing. Maybe having 25 blog posts a quarter, right, that are of quality, then 100 AI written that you're just simply copying and pasting. Because I guess getting into the weeds, something that's going to be written by a human right now, maybe somebody listens to this episode 10 years from now and comments on it, they're going to debunk that because AI would be so good, right? But right now, something written by an AI is going to be more powerful, and you're going to know what to emphasize for the search engines, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the other thing too is that if you look at AI content, it's difficult to get good keyword research from AI because ChatGPT is not integrated with Ahrefs or SEMrush or any of these like third-party tools that are driving a lot of the SEO data that we look at. What makes a good article? So, primary keywords, secondary keywords, how are those fitting in with semantics and all that sort of stuff? And so we really, it's not a quick process. Our outline process, like our monthly packages are starting at 7 articles per month. So when you think about the logistics behind creating 7 articles per month, it's not a lot of content, it's a decent amount, but it's not like you're pumping out 20, 30 articles a month. And that's because the focus should be on the quality. It should be on the process and the care to see it through, and not just strictly on get it on the site, let's see how it performs, whatever works doesn't. Because an SEO, if it takes a couple months for it to perform, well, you've now just lost yourself months and months of work. So you might as well do it right from the get-go. And then over time, it's going to compound and perform as planned.
And we're not saying to the solopreneur, go out and hire somebody for $5,000, $10,000 a month, right? You sure, go ahead, dabble with some of the AI tools, but don't just simply copy and paste. Feed it the right prompts, right? The keywords you're looking for if you're using tools like SEMrush or I feel like Moz is still pretty good for small business owners. Obviously, it's not as powerful as some of the other tools out there, but it's really great for small businesses. Yeah, do that. And then, if and when you do have a budget to hire a company like TrioSEO or someone else, yeah, do that, because they're going to know how to do things efficiently better and help you get more rankings for your website and get more visitors and hopefully more conversions, right? Because that's what everybody's looking for these days, is more business, more money, more conversions, and everything like that. So yeah, I think this is a great conversation because, blog writing, yeah, sure, we just said it's still important. I still write blog posts and I enjoy it. I do a lot of the writing myself. Sometimes I'll brainstorm a little bit with ChatGPT, but I still write pretty much all of my blog article content. And then switching over to SEO, if somebody is new in a job or maybe they're a small business owner, what are the fundamental things as far as search engine optimization, SEO? What would be something or some things that they should focus on first and foremost to hop in? And maybe somebody else was doing something and they were doing it wrong. But let's say you started at a company, you are doing a side hustle, right? You joined a small company, you hopped into the driver's seat. What would you be looking at first and foremost?
I'm gonna take a look at just like the bare bone basics of their site. I mean, it's things that we interact with whenever you're a visitor on someone else's site that you kind of take for granted. So, like the footer, what does the footer look like? Is there important links in there, maybe to your service page, your about page? Do you actually have an about page? Do you have a privacy policy page? Like all of those like things that we glance over and they kind of are camouflaged into the site, but they really add to the overall presence of it from Google's point of view. And then looking at the navigation menu, like is that structured? Like just making sure that the experience and then the architecture of the site is sound. Making sure that it's fast. Like no one wants a slow, clunky site. That will definitely impact your SEO. Other things are like, is it designed nicely? Does the user experience nice? How does it operate on mobile? Pull it up on your phone. Look and see, do pictures, do they glance off the page and are cut off? Tables, they shouldn't be hanging off as well. Those are pretty much like the quick wins, I would say, that like most people don't look at because they're just so eager to like push publish and leave it. And then I think that if you're kind of like looking at a little bit more of the nitty gritty, building your backlink profile, working with allies in your space to really build up your domain authority and try to go after those rankings that your competitors either are also chasing or already have. And obviously there's a whole different strategy, whether it's local SEO versus not, but I mean, good site, fast site, backlinks, good content. I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. It's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
Let's go to the nerd corner for a minute here. There's a lot of people out there, including myself, that build websites with WordPress, and there's a popular website builder called Elementor, and I guess you're familiar with that. A lot of times that becomes bloated, right? Even pretty quickly or over time, and it slows down your page speed. Because I noticed you said that, especially for mobile, and you'll notice that there'll be some specs that are in the yellow and close to red, or maybe they're pretty good. How important is mobile page speed to Google? Are they really going to ding you if you're kind of in that yellow area and not really super fast?
I mean, it's hard to say exactly like if you have a, apples to oranges comparison of a perfect site speed versus one's in the yellow. Like obviously the perfect one's probably going to receive a little bit more love from Google, but at least from our perspective, like we use Elementor on our own site. Like I'm very familiar with it. We have it on a couple of the client sites. It's not going to hold you back from success, and it's not going to be the make it or break it decision point. The way I look at the trade-off is I'd rather have a site that is a little bit bloated in exchange for nice design, better interactive, elements, CTAs, pop-ups, all the things that Elementor allows me to do with ease because I'm not a developer, and be able to do that quickly and efficiently is kind of that double-edged sword. So I mean, it's not going to really just like crush your SEO in terms of like destroying it, but I would just be conscious of how you're using it and where you're using it. Like you don't want a million pop-ups on your site. You don't want tons of images that are not compressed. Like you should still be trying to follow things that will allow you to have a cleaner backend. But just Elementor by itself, and they know that too. Like they're aware of it. They're trying to fix that over time. So it's probably only going to get better from here on out.
I totally agree with you. And, there's people that'll die on their sword trying to get that in everything into the green, right? Where
Yeah.
I was working with a company and I tried everything and I couldn't get everything into the green. But when you actually loaded it, like the machine tells you one thing, and when you load it on your phone, it's actually even uncached, or it could be like, oh, it's cached. I totally wipe out everything and load it. It's still pretty fast. I wouldn't die on that sword. Like you said, I'd focus on the other things. And I heard you mention the footer, where we all know footer and internal links are important, but would you say the site structure, the menu links, the footer links are more important than say H1s and H2s?
I wouldn't say more important. I just think it's hard because SEO is, there's so many different things you have to manage. It's like, if I have 1,000 things, how do you prioritize 1 to 1,000? So it's like everything's marginally more important than the next thing in line. I would say like when it comes to your navigation links and your footers, one of the things that is very easy to accidentally do is to overload them. So, like everyone thinks you should have all your blog content in your footers. It's really just like a link to your blog on the footer. Whatever pages you think are highest priority is where those should be placed. But H1's like you have to have an H1. Like I would say that that's probably higher priority if you're looking at it side by side. But you should always have an H1. Never repeat an H1. That's like a really easy mistake that I see a lot of people do is they'll have like 2 H1s on a page, and I'm like, no, let's immediately change this. So there's
what is the negative of that? Do they like compete against each other or nullify each other or something? I know it's negative. I just never really thought about like what is the actual damage it's doing.
It's just confusing to Google. Like it's kind of like if you had 2 similar articles, it's like Google doesn't really know like which one you're trying to focus on. So and especially if one is really descriptive and one's not, I'm guessing that Google's smart enough to decipher good versus bad. But if you have a primary keyword as your H1 and then right below that, maybe you have a secondary keyword as your H1 also. But from a strategy perspective, you don't want to try and rank your secondary keyword. So I would say it's definitely just kind of one of those things where it's just more ambiguous to Google. Cleaner, clearer is always going to be better from their point of view, just less guessing. So that's kind of how I've always looked at it.
And I think what you were talking about with the internal links and the footer and stuff is like that's the low hanging fruit that you can look at right away, fix. Where a lot of the other items, obviously, there's going to be people that are listening that are like brand new to SEO or didn't even know they need to do it. Now they do, and then there's going to be their seasoned marketers. But I think that some people should know, and most people do know, it takes time to start to optimize your website. And you were talking about like a lot of the strategies and technical things you could fix pretty quickly to help you with your SEO. But then like if you just throw an H1 on your website, it's not like you're going to get 80,000 more visitors to your website from Google the day you change it. It takes time for the algorithms and the spiders, I guess if you want to call it that, crawling your website to find a change and then see if it's valuable, then provide it for a keyword search. So I see you smiling. There's all that optimization going on out there, and I guess people just don't realize how much work goes into SEO. It's just it's a lot of work, right? I don't envy what you do at all.
And it's not a one-time thing. Like like our TrioSEO is coming up on 1 year. We built our website day one, and we've treated it like a client since day one, meaning that we've published content monthly on it. Just last week, I went through and did a massive site upgrade because we just had gotten to the point where we had published I think almost 80 articles on the site, and it was just time to clean it up. It's like an oil change. You have to go back through and make sure is everything is the internal linking optimized? Do our menus need to be updated? Like all the things that I've just said, it's not like I'm just publishing content and then closing a bad eye to it. Like it's something that should be ongoing and making sure that are these pages getting more impressions than clicks? How do we change our titles? Like what do I need to change internally? Like there's it's and that's why I love it too. It's one big jigsaw puzzle all the time, every single day.
And I specialize in email marketing, but I dabble in a lot of other things. And I'm always learning about SEO. And, I'm no expert by any means. But I did read an article a couple of weeks ago, and it talked about, a blog page. And then some sites might have a listing of 4 or 5, whatever, certain amount of blog posts. And then it says, list more or continue, right? And then it's hidden behind it. And you click it and then more show up. The article I read said that you should not do that because it makes it harder for Google to index it. Is that, I guess it's called pagination or no, pagination is different, right? Because that means you just go to another page, but then that does list
the
articles, but the read more is different, right? Or load more.
Yeah. So it's not ideal. The difference being is that you kind of want to think about your site as there should never be a dead end. So if you have at the bottom of the page on your blog and it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're just going to skip to the next pages, each of those numbers is a link or a pathway. So when Google's crawling your site, it's going to go to the bottom and click 1 or 2 and then 3. It's going to continue going through. As soon as it gets to a dead end, it's going to stop. And so when you have that read more, it's going to click, but it doesn't immediately just load and go to the next set of content. So I'm on the other side of you should always have more, like one to like the numbers and such. I actually think that you should also have just better categories and site structure within your blog. That's something that's really easy to fix too. Instead of having like a general blog layout where all of your content is just dumped as a library, set up your categories within that. So like ours, we have B2B SEO content, we have SaaS SEO content, we have keyword research content. These are all like your micro clusters and categories within your blog, and then add those to your menu, add those within your blog as like, bottom wise to the category, like read more. So kind of think about your site structure as like what would be best for the user and what would also be best for Google.
I think that's a great tip, categorizing. And I even do it with, my episodes for my podcast. And I guess I didn't realize how powerful that is. Like I knew I should be doing it, but I didn't know it actually could be powerful, because I guess it's helping Google realize what category to put that content in and then correlate that to a search. These search engines are smarter than most people think they are. Google's a big company, right?
Yeah, they got some pretty smart people working over there.
If we can only figure out what their algorithm is doing, right? Oops, I'm sorry. It was probably leaked a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? Yeah. I started listening to videos and watching videos about that, reading blog, how that I started getting lost a little. I know the gist of it, like of what it's telling us, but I guess it verified some things people speculated about, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much everything that we had guessed for years and years, and now it's just like, oh, okay, continue doing what we're doing. Like, no, don't reinvent the wheel.
So what do you think are some things that might be considered misconceptions with SEO? Because we're all saying, yeah, sure, SEO is important, but I don't want to spend a lot of money on it. So what are some misconceptions that you hear from people?
That it doesn't work. That's the biggest one. I think, and that's fair too. It's hard to sign up for something that is going to take 6 months to perform. And people, I think, just don't have a long enough time horizon when thinking about it. Like, I'm a business owner myself. Like, it's hard to invest in a 6-month game plan when you're still kind of like, it's not a for sure thing. It is a high probability, don't get me wrong, but it's not like it's PPC. It's not like you're just going to like instantly pull this lever and have a 2 or 3x return on your money. But what I would say to that too is that when you stop pulling the PPC lever, what happens? It stops. So the content side of SEO, which is I think really where it gets powerful, is that that's your asset. That's your real estate on your site. No one's going to take that away from you. And so as long as you're updating content and keeping it fresh, it's going to keep performing. It's going to continue gaining traction and momentum, and it really just compounds over time. So, and that's why I like it too. It's like this like secret hack is like once you realize the power of it, it just keeps growing from there.
Right. Bad analogy, I guess. If you want to get an apple pie, you can go to the store and buy it. But if you want a really good one, you got to put it in the oven and bake it for some time. It takes a while, right?
Exactly.
It takes a little work. You got to make sure you have the right ingredients in there. You got to set the right temperature and then put it in the oven, and it takes a little bit of time. And then afterwards, you enjoy the fruits of your labor, right?
100%. Patience pays every time.
That's a marathon, not a race, right? That's the phrase I always use, and I think it's still worth it. But I think people start to get skeptical when, the search engine results have all these, like I said, all these little different things that are creating noise and confusion. And now, people are going to start using ChatGPT as a search engine, right? Because that's coming about. What are your thoughts on that, ChatGPT search? How do you think that's going to change the world of SEO?
I think it'll help a lot. I'm not anti AI search. Don't get me wrong. I think that it's just like TikTok or YouTube Reels. Like even last night, I was using YouTube Shorts as a search engine for looking at stuff of my own. I think it really just is going to shift in how people are looking for things. And what I mean by that is like the types of search that they're using it for. For example, if it's a how to bake a cake, perfect use of ChatGPT. Like I hate reading an article that has 2,000 words about getting the flour and cooking at grandma's house and the smell of fresh baked cookies. It's like, no, I just need the recipe. I'm in a hurry. Like I don't need this extra nonsense. how to tie a tie, another perfect example, like just show me example. But when you're dealing with a maybe like one of our clients is in mergers and acquisitions, like you're not going to look up a TikTok short on how to exit your company. Like that's just not, you're going to do a lot of due diligence and do a lot of research and learn about all this stuff. And so from that perspective, like there's a time and a place for each type of content. And that's one other reason like why SEO and blog writing is not going to immediately die. I think that there's also going to be various types of content, and it's just going to be shifted. So those who are using AI are going to be able to use the quick FAQ material type of search, which is great. Like, I think that's perfect, but it's not going to like take over the world by all content means.
Yeah, I think that, using ChatGPT, not the ChatGPT search that's starting to come out, I think people are still skeptical about the quality and the can they actually trust the results? Like if I got a recipe, are the ingredients are they all correct, or is there something
Only
wrong
one way to find
in there?
out, right?
Yeah, because I just read a study and then I did a video about it yesterday around companies that are selling products and services, and there's AI involved, like a TV that has AI in it, and if that's in a description, the people's intent to buy actually lowers rather than you just say high, you use the word high tech. So that proves that people don't really trust AI as much as they will be down the road. And right now, I think SEO is still great. It'll probably go through some changes, when AI gets a lot better and can help a lot more, but maybe that's just a shift, right? Maybe more companies like yours start not embracing, but using those tools in conjunction with the other tools you're using to help customers do it more and better, because they don't want to figure out how to do prompt engineering and all that stuff, where you'll be the expert on that.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that we can get to a point where Google's fine with that and clients are fine with that and we're fine with that, and it becomes more of an efficient way to produce high quality content. But I think that we've seen, if you're going to write an article and if you look at like a side-by-side comparison, it could take you 5 hours to write an article yourself, or it could take you 30 minutes plus 4.5 hours editing. At the end of the day, you might as well just written the article yourself. So, right. I mean, if you're going to invest that time, you might as well just do it right from the start, and it's probably going to be a much better product because you can at least know your customer, their goals, their objectives. You can become an authority with your tone, and you can insert this conversational style formatting that performs better when someone's actually reading it with it, engaging with it. And I think that's going to be where the biggest disconnect is where people start to leverage AI and forget that there's people on the other side reading it. And that's dangerous.
What about old blog content that may be slightly outdated, but 80% of it's still valuable today? What should you do with that? Number one, should you depreciate it and just like delete that blog post? Should you update it, or should you either delete and update it and then create a new version with fresh content? What are your thoughts on that? I've heard different opinions on that.
Yeah, it all depends on how that content is currently performing. So if it's hovering in like you look in like Google Search Console or Google Analytics, which are free to every single website owner. Say it's getting some traction, it's not the best. If you look at it's like ranking say 20th or 15th, definitely keep that alive. Don't delete it. Just update that content and almost look at it as like a complete overhaul. Like what can you keep? What can you upgrade? And then add a section at the top that says like articles updated on this date. Here's what we changed, and then just flow into the next piece of content. If it's say it's not ranking or not even indexed, like I would just do a full fresh rewrite, and you can always redirect the URL over just in case there is any link juice that might have existed in that previous set. But you're kind of looking at that as like a fresh start when you don't redirect it, because you kind of have to like re-index and do all this process. So yeah, there's different ways. I would say it really depends on how it's currently performing and where you think it can go, and if it's within reach.
I would say that is something that I've done in the past, is why I've asked you that question. And I've deployed different tactics, like you said, based on different things. But theoretically, you never want to kill a link. You probably want to
Yeah.
redirect it. And if everything we're talking about right here is alien to you, reach out to Steven. They can help you with all that. It's important to do because even old content, if it's still performing, like you mentioned, it's worth keeping around and updating, and they can help you with that. Another question, what is this? And I know it probably depends on industry, but what is the optimal length for a blog post? How many words on average is good for most people?
Yeah, it doesn't actually depend on industry. It actually depends on the topic. So if it's like going back to the baking a cake analogy, like there's no reason that should be 5,000 words. It should probably be less than 1,000. The difference being is the authority aspect of it. Like you're going to have these massive sites going after it. So you kind of have a little more content. But long story short, it should really align to the search intent and see like, can this answer be answered, or can this question be answered in say 700 words or 1,000 words? More content does not equal better rankings. So really think about, what does the reader need to understand in order to fully grasp their question and or get to the next step of the process, whether it's step one and then it's going to be sign up for a CTA, sign up for a newsletter, whatever that might look like. So yeah, look at existing content, look at what's ranking, what's performing well already, and then kind of use that as your baseline.
All right. I love how you said it depends on, what it's about rather than a certain industry or something like that. It depends on the topic. It's a really, really good bit of advice there. Folks, I just want to mention that I have a good offer from Kickbox, who I work with. We're an email validation service. If you're looking to validate a list of email addresses or use an integration with our API, say you're using HubSpot, or you just have a form on your website and you have a developer and you want to validate email addresses in real time, I want to give you 500 credits. You can use the code HMBT for that. Just go to kickbox.com. When you sign up, use HMBT and you'll get 500 free credits. I always like to make sure that I keep the folks at Kickbox happy and help people out, because email marketing is also important. SEO is important. SEO drives people to your website. But then what are you going to do when you get people and eyeballs on your website? You want to convert them and get their email address. And email marketing is important, but you have to make sure you have a valid email address, and that's what Kickbox does. Steven, it was so great to have you here today talking about SEO. We could probably talk for hours and put people to sleep and make the nerds happy, right? So we have a divergent audience here. But I want to learn a little bit about how people can reach out to you, connect with you, learn more about your company, as well as anything you might want to offer them.
Yeah, so I'm very active on LinkedIn. I post daily, and you can reach me there. Just look up my name, Steven Schneider. You can also Google like that, plus TrioSEO. We're an SEO company, so we show up in search. So they're pretty easy to find. But yeah, I mean, if you're interested in services, we offer two different types, where it's going to be strategy and outlines or briefs, or full service. And if you sign up through this podcast, you'll get 3 free articles in your first month. So great $1,200 value, allows you to kind of kickstart your SEO. Just let me know that you heard us through the HMBT podcast. We'll look forward to getting your audit underway.
Yeah, I took a look at your website. A lot of great information there. There's a lot of folks out there that do SEO, but I feel like Trio SEO will put you in good hands and help you kickstart your SEO, or maybe take it to the next level, or just help you keep doing more of what you're doing now. It's always great to talk about marketing, but SEO is something that I can usually always learn a little bit more about. And I took a little bit of information away from our conversation today, Steven. I appreciate you being on the show, and I hope maybe we can have you back down the road.
Would love that. Thanks for having me.
All right. Until next time, everyone, make sure you go look at your website and see if it's optimized for search engines.